Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today. My name is Mel Rose, and today we are going to take a look forward to Decan 13, which is the 10-day segment of the year from May 1st to May 10, 2023, coming up very soon here. So we start out this Decan, and this is the second Decan, or the second 10 days of the sun's transit in the land of Taurus. And that means that our outer lives, especially like in our work, social, and civic lives, these come to revolve around Taurus themes like establishing security for ourselves, establishing support for ourselves. Taurus is ruled by Venus, so it's about those things we like, love, and can't get enough of. But more than that, it's about having the things that we need to feel supported so that we can go ahead and do the work that we're doing in the world. And this comes with some keywords: charity, generosity, sharing. So we've moved on to a new tarot card, which is what those words represent. This card is the Six of Pentacles. So remember, with the Five of Pentacles, we had sort of a time of need or of going without. And now we've come to this point with the Six of Pentacles where someone has found their prosperity, right? Has done the work and figured out how to balance their work and their life in such a way where they can enjoy a little bit of extra support and extra security in their own life, and realizing that you've come to this point where you have more than you need. Then you also realize that it's only fair, right? It's only balanced to share what you have with others, to invest in the uplift of other people, so that other people have similar chances to you, right? So this is a time where we are feeling charitable. We are generous with the gifts that we have. It's a time for sharing. It's really a time for celebration because we've got Beltane this week. So what you have, if you have it in abundance, find a way to share it with somebody. That's one good way to celebrate this time. And the moon will start in Virgo this week at waxing gibbous, and it will end on the 10th in Aquarius, a waning gibbous moon. So we've got a full moon in here in the middle with a lunar eclipse and everything. So we'll get to that in a moment. First, I want to start with Monday the 1st, which is the first day of this Decan, or this 10-day section of the year. And it's a waxing gibbous in Virgo. So we are acting to complete our goals that we set at the beginning of the month or with the new moon. And we're also, in Virgo, so we're sort of doing that by sorting things out. Virgo disperses earth energy, so it sorts things out. It pays out money and resources, and it really just seeks to align things in such a way that they work efficiently, and that way we are able to sort of help ourselves and others. So Monday the 1st is solar Beltane. Friday the 5th is lunar Beltane. The sun reaches its halfway point basically between our spring equinox and our summer solstice on the 1st. So that is solar Beltane. And this is a time when we're really celebrating the fact that this is the peak of spring, right? The plants have come to life. There's a lot of green foliage on the trees and bushes. The grass is growing. A bunch of flowers have bloomed. We've had a lot more flowers blooming this year because of global warming. I hear that a lot of people who never suffered allergies before are starting to suffer them now. So that's a difficult thing that's a challenging thing to come to terms with, I know, from my own life. But if you are struggling with allergies, go ahead and find a way to be generous with yourself and get yourself some allergy meds going, okay? So Beltane, celebrating the peak of spring. We do this traditionally with ritual fires, feasts, and dancing, okay? Ritual fires, in the old times when we were herds people, we would have this fire and we would drive the cattle across the fire to instill some sort of protection in them, the protection of the sun, right? The fire relates to the heat of the sun. And we would also blow the smoke from those fires over our crops and fields to ensure their growth and to protect them from, whatever evil or maladjusted forces might be there to take them away from us, right? Because our cattle traditionally, our crops traditionally, these are the things that These are the things that we are going to rely on to have value for us come harvest time so that we can get through the next winter. So that's what the ritual fire is about. You can use ritual fire in your own life, even if you don't have cattle or a crop, just to symbolically purify and protect the things that have value to you. And of course, with any with any celebration, we're going to have a feast, especially on the solar version of the celebration. We'll have a feast among friends and family, hopefully, and some dancing. I say dancing. Beltane fires often lead to some sexy time also. It's very traditional to dance around that Beltane fire, and then just to sort of, find a place to go off with your sweetheart or your loved one and enjoy being with them in a physical, sexy, loving way. So that's Beltane. I hope you're going to have a good celebration this year. On the 1st also, Pluto goes retrograde. So Pluto is the farthest out planet from the sun. It's the slowest moving planet in astrology, and it is retrograde for about 6 months out of the year. Now, retrograde is an illusion caused by the fact that we are on a planet going in circles around the sun, watching another planet going in circles around the sun, right? So sometimes it's going to appear to go this way, and sometimes it's going to appear to go that way. It kind of goes like this in the sky for us. So Pluto retrograde is a time when Pluto is about transformation and metamorphosis. So this is a time when we sort of internalize the transformations and metamorphoses we've been through, okay? Notice the transitions, notice how well we've gone into them, perhaps, seeking at this time to further embody those transitions that have happened in our lives, either happened to us or that we have entered willingly, right? This is the time when we want to sort of internalize them and make them real for ourselves in our lives. And also on the 1st, the sun will be conjunct to Mercury, which is retrograde. Now, Mercury retrograde says we're going to have some shifts, we're going to have some shakeups, and perhaps some challenges when it comes to our thoughts, plans, and communications, our day-to-day running around and taking care of business, right? So when the sun is conjunct to Mercury, that really activates that Mercury retrograde in the outer life, right? That's work, social, and civic life that is all about establishing material security for ourselves right now, right? So during this time when sun is conjunct to Mercury, we're focusing in on the details, especially when it comes to planning and executing our day-to-day stuff, okay? We want to slow down. We want to read the fine print. We want to make sure we understand what it is we're getting ourselves into. Ask all the questions, even if they don't feel or seem to us like smart questions. Ask them anyway. Make sure you understand what is happening before you make any commitments, especially while the sun is conjunct to Mercury in retrograde, okay? Thursday comes up, and you'll notice that there's no Tuesday or Wednesday. There are just really no very significant aspects going on those days. So I skipped over to Thursday. Thursday comes up the 4th, and we're still in Beltane because lunar Beltane is coming up on Friday. So we're still celebrating the peak of spring. You can put up yellow flowers. You can you can do all kinds of things to just decorate and remind yourself, enjoy the fact that we've reached the peak of spring. And this means kind of necessarily that whatever we have to work with, to grow on right now, it's going to grow abundantly. We're in the warm part of the year now, and we can look to things to continue to bloom and grow for us. And that's both, materially, right, in terms of our cattle or our crops or whatever it is else that has value for us, right? But it's also just in terms of personal growth as well. So Thursday, the 4th, Venus makes a square to Neptune, culminates a square to Neptune and a sextile to Jupiter. Now, these are energies that we've already been working with for a few days before this happens, but this is the culmination. So this is the strong point of that aspect. This is the strength of that aspect. And when Venus is squared to Neptune, Venus and Neptune really has to do with sort of like looking in the mirror. Venus is about that love and that beauty, right? That sense of connection we get when we receive, when we get what we want, right? And Neptune is really, it can be about our image of things, our illusions about things, our idealization of things, right? So when this square comes in and we get a challenge, the challenge is not meant to stop us. It's meant to remind us, what we usually think and how we usually go forward what our intentions are at this time. So, you know, Venus square to Neptune, this can give us a sense of distortion around our self-image. It can give us a sense of distortion around our perception of others. Neptune tends to break down boundaries, especially in Pisces. And, you know, this is like the deep waters. So think of deep waters and the way they distort the way things appear to us, right? So, you know, just understand that, you know, if you're struggling with your self-image around this time on the 4th through about the 11th of May, or if you're struggling with your perception of others, you're starting to, you know, like see flaws in other people where you normally think they're perfect, that kind of thing. Your idealization of people isn't working out for you, or it's not being mirrored by what they're actually doing. Just understand that there is this little distortion field that we've stepped into. It doesn't mean that we have to like stop loving ourselves or anyone else just because we're not seeing things the way they normally would be. And that's a challenge for us at this time. Venus is also going to culminate a sextile to Jupiter that day. Again, we've been coming up to this point for a few days, but then when Venus culminates as sextile to Jupiter, this is when that vibe is the strongest. This is a way more cooperative, working, social, and loving vibe. We feel good fortune. We might receive some gifts, some compliments. We feel sort of bent towards some generosity, some sharing, and perhaps even some charity, you know, giving of ourselves. Especially in terms of what we would like to receive, because Jupiter sort of matches your effort, right? Jupiter is about good fortune and about wanting you to feel like you can always do and have something more than you already have, right? So this sextile is very positive. It's generative because it works. These planets are working together, so it's bound to generate something good. So, you know, if you're struggling with that distorted self-image there, go ahead and lean into that social and loving vibe that you feel, if you can feel it. Notice where your fortune is good, okay? Notice the gifts and the compliments, the good things that come to you, all right? And be willing to share in proportion to what you would like to, what kind of good fortune you would like to receive, all right? And then on Friday, the 5th, we have that full moon in Scorpio. This is our time to relax and celebrate. We've been with the waxing gibbous taking action to complete some goals, right? So that we would have something, you know, under our belts to say, I accomplished this with the full moon. And here we are at the full moon, so we get to relax and celebrate and sort of look back on how things have gone for us and say, hey, look what I accomplished. Pat myself on the back, right? This is lunar Beltane, and lunar Beltane, you know, the moon is more about our private lives. So this might be our more private celebration of the spring. Maybe this is where, you know, the intimacy, the sexy time with our sweethearts comes in. But even if you're just celebrating on your own, it's a good time just to appreciate, you know, the growth and abundance that does exist in your world, the things that you do see growing, the good fortune you do see coming your way, okay? The full moon in Scorpio, now this can be a really intense time because Scorpio, ruled by Mars and Pluto, it's all about power and transformation, right? So this is a time when things might be revealed, right? we might be opened up in revealing ways, okay? So old emotional wounds may resurface at this time, and it's important to let the returning light sort of bring closure and embrace the healing of your heart at this time, all right? And with the lunar eclipse, now eclipse is related to a Latin term that means to leave, all right? And we had the solar eclipse with this new moon, right? And then that new moon in Aries, that second new moon in Aries that we had a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, between that solar eclipse and this solar eclipse, you know, the idea is that a lot of things will change. Things will fall away from us that no longer serve us, you know, and we'll notice the loss. We might feel the loss, right? But at this time, we're also sort of feeling, like understanding what's going on deep inside our hearts and our psyches. And, you know, we are healing from those old wounds. We're allowing this returning light to bring some finality to certain situations and to embrace the healing of our own hearts as the as the spring has reached its peak, right? So that's the full moon on Friday. It can be pretty intense. You know, if you celebrate full moons with friends, eclipses are not really a time to celebrate in a social way, okay? Eclipses are really a time to lay low and reflect on our lives, okay? So if you're going to celebrate it with friends, I'm going to say, let's do that in a low-key way. Let's not have a big fire and a big celebration and a big feast on lunar Beltane, right? That's really more for solar Beltane. And especially with this eclipse, we really just want to be in a reflective mode because things can change on a dime. All right, when we're in eclipse season, we are right here coming up on the second eclipse of eclipse season. The next one is in a couple of months, but these first two happened one right after the other. So we've all been through a lot of changes in this past couple of weeks, and now it's time to sort of to lay low and integrate the changes as they come with us. All right. And then on Sunday the 7th, Venus moves on into to Cancer. So Venus has been in Gemini, right? Like asking for two of everything, right? Drawing in two of everything, causing two things to happen at once. The great example I was given was the day that Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon were both fired from their jobs, right? Venus sort of swung this hammer, and it was in the chart, and it said, yeah, we're gonna bring some things to an end, and it's gonna be you know, two of everything. It's gonna be sort of matching pairs or diametric opposites, right? Which in a way, those guys are both of those things. So Venus moves on into Cancer, and Venus does better in Cancer than it does in Gemini. You know, Cancer is very watery and emotional. It's very much about the home and the heart, and the moon rules Cancer, right? So the moon, the moon will be in Sagittarius this day, and with the waxing gibbous moon, we look back on what happened at the full moon and prior to the full moon, and we decide for ourselves, we start to think for ourselves what went well, what didn't go well, and knowing what didn't go well, then we start to discover what we might be able to plan to let go of, right? The things that are no longer going to serve us for our creative purposes in the future. And this is just thinking about it. It's not getting rid of stuff, okay? It's just planning to let go of stuff and things, thoughts, attitudes, dispositions, emotional ways of being that no longer serve us. Venus moves on into Cancer, and when Venus is in Cancer, we are more nurturing. We are more protective of ourselves and our loved ones. We're a little more cautious. Cancer is cautious. It wears a shell. It moves sideways. It's indirect, right? And we're also more fertile. Cancer brings about fertility, especially when Venus is there. So again, if you're trying to make babies or if you're not trying to make babies, you know, this is a very fertile time, this Beltane time, and then we move on into Venus in Cancer, and that's a very fertile time too. So just be really careful about what it is that you're creating with the actions that you take, right? And then, you know, also when Venus is in Cancer, we have an increased sensitivity. We might experience some emotional highs and lows that'll bring us through a little bit of transformation of the heart. And then Venus will be in Cancer through the 6th of June. Venus will be culminating its quincunx with Pluto on Sunday the 7th, and it will be quincunx with Pluto through the 10th of May, so just a few days. And this is really, you know, quincunx is an attitude of adjustment. So this is our receptive hearts adjusting to the big changes that we've been through, right? Pluto has just gone retrograde. So this is an internal assessment of our transitions, of our transformations, of the metamorphosis we've been through. If you look back on the last year and you notice what has changed for you, now is the time for us to be adjusting to that, to be integrating that, to be trying to embody those changes, rather than being in resistance to them or just being like, well, that changed, but I'm not going to let it change me, right? The things that change for us change our lives and change the way we approach the world, and we should allow them to do that, all right? And then Tuesday the 9th, which is the day before the last day of this decan, the sun makes a conjunct to Uranus, okay? So the sun, again, is about our outer life, our work, social, and civic lives, revolving around Taurus themes like establishing safety and security, financial well-being for ourselves. And this is conjunct to Uranus, so conjunct there in the same place in the sky from our perspective, right? And And Uranus brings about change. It brings about upgrades in our perception, in our technology. It asks us to make changes for advancement, changes to make things more efficient, changes to make things work better, or to work more well for more people, right? You know, the things, we're entering this age of Aquarius, right? Pluto just went into Aquarius about a month and a half before it went retrograde. So we're entering this age of Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus, and it's really a humanitarian vibe. It's really about making sure that the things that serve me, the things that work for me in my work, social, and civic lives also work for other people, also contribute to the uplift and the support of others, right? This is our chance to invest in the support of other, in the uplift of other people. So don't be surprised if you encounter some surprises on Tuesday the 9th through about the 14th. Don't be surprised if you get some tech upgrades. Maybe you get a new phone or a laptop, something, some kind of new technology will come out that just wows and astounds us, right? And that's especially in our work, social, civic life. So out in the world where we're working, where we're interacting with people, just, you know, abrupt changes can come along, and it works better for us if we can try to have a positive attitude about them, right? Because this is usually a very positive change. Okay, so that is Decan 13, May 1st through the 10th of 2023. Remember that the theme for all of this is to remember charity of your heart, to be generous with others, to invest in the uplift of others, whether that's, you know, oh, I have money to share, or oh, I have resources to share, or at least even just to give someone or something your time and attention so that they can find value where they might not have been able to find it without your sharing assistance, okay? And yeah, so that's it for this Decan. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notifications bell. It helps me out a lot, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you very much.